And polling is underway for the Australian general election since this morning, as opinion polls suggest that Labor Prime Minister Anthony Albanese could get a lead over Conservative challenger Peter Dutton. Now, voters in bathing suits were seen casting their ballots at Sydney's Bondi Beach. Albanese, who leads the centre-left Labor Party, visited the eastern states of Queensland, Victoria and Tasmania on Friday, while Dutton, who leads an alliance of Conservative parties called the Liberal National Coalition, campaigned in the states of South Australia and Western Australia. A record 8 million out of 18 million eligible voters had already cast ballots before Saturday. Both major parties have focused on cost of living pressures, but opinion polls show that global uncertainty driven by Trump's stop-start tariffs rapidly became a top issue for voters during the campaign. Labor has accused the Conservative coalition of mimicking US President Donald Trump by promising to slash more than 1 in 5 federal public sector jobs.
I think what's scary about Trump is what the world can become very quickly if everyone goes that way, and I'm really excited that Canada has not gone that way. So I'm hopeful for today's outcome for Australia and our future.
Many who don't have a strong preference still turn out to vote in order to avoid a fine, often not picking a candidate until election day. Dutton is confident that undecided voters would back his coalition. Both campaigners are focused on Australia's changing demographics by promising policy changes, including helping the first-time home buyers into the property market that is too expensive for many. Another point of difference is energy. The opposition has promised to build 7 government-funded nuclear power plants across Australia that would begin generating electricity from 2035. Labor plans to have 82% of Australia's energy grid powered by renewables, including solar and wind turbines by 2030, and to rely less on gas. The party has warned that Dutton's coalition would take massive cuts to service to pay for its nuclear ambitions. Now, this is the first election in Australia in which people born between the end of the World War II and 1964 are outnumbered by younger voters, while the growing disenchantment among voters has also emboldened independents pushing for greater transparency and climate progress. Joining us live on the broadcast is our correspondent Dasuni Athoda from Melbourne, Australia. Thank you so much for joining us, Dasuni. Let me start by asking you, what's the voter turnout like so far across the key regions, and are there any early trends or surprises?
Well, there seems to be a very steady inflow of voters coming in all across Australia. I'm currently outside one of the voting centres in Birrung Ma, which is here in central Melbourne. And from statistics, we have seen that more than 8.5 million Australians have voted so far, and we are yet to see what these voter percentages would look like in the midday hours here in Australia. So in terms of voter turnout, this seems to be a pretty relaxed affair here in Australia from what I can see, because voters seem to be even showing up in their swimsuits, with their pets, with their children. And also something interesting that we did understand is that there is no physical ID that is needed for you to vote, because it is all quite digitized here in Australia. And also the concept of a democracy sausage, where all voters can enjoy a sausage, where all funds of this sausage will be going towards community and school-driven causes. So quite an interesting election and a different environment, certainly for me.
Right. And Dasuni, what are some of the major issues driving voters to the polls in this election, and how are the main parties addressing them?
Absolutely. I think a lot of voters, especially given that this is the first election where a lot of younger voters and undecided voters will be heading to the polls, issues such as cost of living, the housing crisis here in Australia is quite prominent, as well as energy issues and climate anxiety will be on the cards of these voters when they head into the polls. Each party, especially between Labor and Liberal, have addressed these almost sometimes in similar manners, but also in very different approaches. So for those who feel that especially this housing crisis is an issue in relation to increased migration, might favour the policies of Dutton, whereas people who feel that increased costs of living are also part of the current global issues that the country is facing would maybe favour incumbent Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
Right. That was Dasuni joining us from Melbourne. Thanks, Dasuni, for getting us the latest on that front.